In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, be advised that notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board at Town Hall and serving the officially designated newspapers a notice stating that this meeting would take place at the Town Hall at 7:30 p.m. today, March 6th, 2018. Sorry, so please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Here. Mrs. Rosenberg? Mr. Eglin?
Here.
Mayor Bursky?
Here.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Egla, will you present the proclamation for Red Cross Month?
I don't think they're here yet to receive it.
Okay, well then
Wait a couple minutes.
we can move on and put that.
No, they're coming.
They're coming.
Oh,
look
I
at
hear
that.
okay, perfect. Red Cross people, right?
Red Cross in the back?
I'm good.
You should.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, so, come on up. Hi, I'm Diane Eglow.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So, whereas in Millburn Township, we have a long history of helping our neighbors in need, American Red Cross Month is a special time to recognize and thank our heroes, those Red Cross volunteers and donors who give of their time and resources to help members. And whereas these heroes help families find shelter after a home fire, they give blood to help trauma victims and cancer patients. They deliver comfort items to military members in the hospital. They use their life-saving skills to save someone from a heart attack, drowning, or choking. They enable children around the globe to be vaccinated against measles and rubella. And whereas the American Red Cross depends on local heroes to deliver and hope during a disaster, we applaud our heroes here in Millburn Township who give of themselves to assist their neighbors when they need a helping hand. And whereas across the country and around the world, the American Red Cross responds to disasters big and small. In fact, every 8 minutes, the organization responds to a community disaster, providing shelter, food, emotional support, and other necessities to those affected. It collects nearly 40% of the nation's blood supply, provides 24-hour support to military members, veterans, and their families, teaches millions life-saving skills as lifeguarding and CPR, and through its Restoring Family Links program connects family members separated by crisis, conflict, or migration. And whereas we dedicate the month of March to all those who support the American Red Cross mission to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies, our community depends on the American Red Cross, which relies on donations of time, money, and blood to fulfill its humanitarian mission. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Millburn Township Committee, by virtue of the authority vested in us by the Constitution and laws of Millburn Township in New Jersey, do hereby proclaim March 2018 as American Red Cross Month and encourage all persons to support this organization and its noble humanitarian mission. I present this to you, and if you want to say a few words, would be...
I didn't know I was going to be
Oh, oh, well, congratulations then. Thank you. Okay. Oh, sure. They don't have any press here yet.
I took a picture.
Here, my husband has a camera.
Okay.
Take a picture. Oh, you use her phone. And hold your proclamation up.
Okay.
Gorgeous.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thanks for coming. No problem. I didn't know I needed to do that. Okay.
May I have a motion to approve the January 2nd, 2018 Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is George here? George, you're here. Do you have anything to report?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor. I was in contact earlier today with Alex. Just, we're expecting a winter storm event, and latest update is around anywhere from 8 to 14 inches, depending on where in the county you're located. It's going to be a wet, heavy snow. It's been upgraded to a winter storm warning, so traveling could be quite hazardous. They're urging residents to use their better judgment and stay off the road, let the plows and salters do their job so they can move safely. If you need any assistance from the county, we're here. I gave my cell phone number to Alex. Please call me. OEM is right here in West Orange at Cody Arena. Should you need any type of assistance, just let me know. Your mode, whatever mode is convenient, email, text, or give me a call. I'll check in tomorrow in the morning and throughout the day, and just let me know. We're here to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just as a follow-up to that, the state has declared, the governor has declared a state of emergency as of 8 p.m. All right, reports. Ms. Dahl-Hager.
It's on the Shade Tree Advisory Board. Tom Doty is currently working on his 5-year plan that is due to the state, and that's similar to our town's requirement to review our own master plan every 10 years. Each year, the Shade Tree's goal is to plant 50 to 100 trees, and barring any drought conditions. And their mission is to plant the right tree in the right location, taking into account power lines, curbs, soil, and light conditions. Currently, the big problem that we're seeing is the ash borer beetle. And right now, the Part 3 has hundreds of these extremely large trees at risk. 120 have already been removed. And you may have noticed the spaces, if you're driving on JFK into the golf course, they will ultimately be replaced. Other ash trees in town have been injected in an attempt to save them. However, it looks like eventually there will be no ash trees left in New Jersey. This is a huge problem. If you have an ash tree on your property, please contact Tom Doty at Shade Tree for advice. And one other interesting thing that I learned is when the pond in Taylor Park freezes, which is not often, Shade Tree is responsible for plowing it so you can go ice skating. I thought that was kind of a cool thing they do. So, yeah, they do a lot, and we appreciate them and Tom's hard work.
Thank you.
I have no reports, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Lee.
No reports.
Mr. Mobley.
Only for tonight, Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Coffey.
No reports, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes, I just have two brief reports. One is that I had the pleasure of representing Millburn Township at the down in Washington, D.C. on behalf of the Mayor's Rahway River Coalition. I will tell you that we hopped around to each of the town's representatives down in Washington. They were extremely supportive, extremely gracious, and good hosts. It was a pleasure. We also met with the Army Corps of Engineers and expect a full status kind of report from Winning Strategies, who's helping the Mayor's Rahway River Coalition to come out and sort of update everyone. Obviously, as George had said, we are expecting another winter storm tonight into tomorrow and actually into Thursday morning. We will continue to communicate with residents as we have through this past nor'easter on Friday, and let you know the status of things as they come up. DPW has already been out and brine all the streets. We are prepared with the fire department and police department for tomorrow if necessary, to have some additional people to assist if needed, certainly trying to get out in front of it in a variety of ways, but we'll continue to communicate with everybody regarding the storm. Tomorrow. 6 a.m.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Do you have any reports?
No, I'm substituting for my partner, Christopher Falcon, who is on an undisclosed beach somewhere.
He shows a great week, as did Charlie. Okay, a couple of things. For many of you, Millburn Short Hills has experienced some outages in connection with the storm we had last weekend. Both Alex and I have spent an enormous amount of time in communication with JCP&L, trying to move them to make sure that we have, that the outages, we have restoration before the next storm. It's my understanding that we will, I don't know if we'll be 100%, we will be probably 98% restored. And hopefully 100%, so I keep getting updates as to that. We are going to be, I guess I'm declaring a state of emergency as of 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, which means that there will be no parking on any of the roads in town, so that our plows can do their work. And hopefully everyone will stay safe and hold up in their houses with their fireplaces. I met over the past week with the Board of Ed President and Vice President. We had some discussions about what's going on with safety in schools and some ideas of what they want to do there. And the jurisdiction of the schools is, of course, lies with the school board and not with the township, but regardless, it's important for us to all work together to deal with safety of all of our township residents, including our students. And that's pretty much what I have to report this week. Now, also, there is a Lewis-based scholarship opportunity. The New Jersey League of Municipalities has a scholarship opportunity available to high school juniors and seniors who are residents of New Jersey and plan to continue their education after high school. This is a great opportunity to offer to the students, and information has been circulated through the Board of Ed, high school, and is also available on our social media website, Facebook and Twitter. Please contact our municipal clerk, Christine Gotti, for assistance if needed, and please keep in mind that the deadline for entries is this Friday, March 9th. Entries should be submitted to Millburn Town Hall. Are there any comments from the committee or the public with respect to any of the items listed on the consent agenda? The consent agenda, this is our bills, authorizing the refund of tax payments, authorizing a municipal alliance grant, the advertisement of bids for summer camp, for the municipal pool food concession, to authorize the execution of storm sewer indemnification agreement, to purchase a Danco wildlife vehicle from the NGAC Binational Co-op, to authorize an agreement between the Township of Millburn and Essex County for mosquito control, and to approve raffle licenses. If there are no comments or questions, may I have a motion to approve the resolutions listed on the consent agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a vote, please?
Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Cole Eglo?
Yes.
Mayor Barsky?
Yes. Okay. The next item is the 2018 budget introduction. Resolution 18076, resolution to approve the 2018 budget and set the public hearing date. The public hearing on our budget is scheduled for April 17th, 2018. A brief presentation was made at our last meeting regards to the proposed 2018 budget by Jason Gadloff, Millburn Township CFO. Would any member of the committee like to comment on the presented 2018 budget? The public hearing and consideration of adoption of the 2018 budget is scheduled for the April 17th committee meeting, which begins at 7:30 p.m. The introduced budget is available in the Township Clerk's office and will also be posted on the Township website. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 18076?
Move that.
Oh,
I'm trying to follow the script.
yes, sorry.
Oh, I didn't know there was a script.
I don't know
Sorry.
why we need a script, but if you want to move it, go ahead.
No, I want to follow the script.
I move that resolution 18-076 be approved and that the township clerk be authorized to have a budget notice published on March 15, 2018 in accordance with the law in the item, that a public hearing and final passage be scheduled for April 17, 2018.
I second the motion on Resolution 18076. May I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Eggleston?
Yes.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes. I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Ordinance 2492-18. An ordinance changing the name of a portion of Canubrook Road to Finneran Way in Millburn Township, New Jersey. The purpose of this ordinance is to rename a portion of Canubrook Road to Finneran Way with an additional honorarium sign thereunder entitled Scoutmaster Ken Finneran. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law. I declare the hearing open. I move that this would anybody like to make any comment with respect to the ordinance to change the name for a portion of Canubrook to Scoutmaster Ken Finneran?
Good evening, Mayor Burstein, Jamie Sruta, 77 Jefferson Avenue, Short Hills, representing Troop 17 as Senior Patrol Leader. As you can see,
Good evening.
thank you. As you can see from the gallery today, we do have a lot of distinguished members of our troop, and as you've seen throughout our timeline and through all the time and effort that's gone into this project, and the civic lessons that have come out of it, it really has been a wild ride for us, and we're so excited tonight to hopefully gain the support of the committee and get an official dedication together and make Canubrook Road Finneran Way, which means so much to us, and just a final thank you to all of you, and hopefully you'll all come to a dedication ceremony thereafter, hopefully, if it is passed. Thank you.
If there's no snow.
If there's no snow.
Would anybody else like to say something?
Good evening.
Good evening, your name for the...
My name is Arjun Gurung, and I live at 61 Locust Avenue, Millburn. I think, when I moved to this town, for the record, we are the first and probably the only one Gurung family in the town. Like everybody else, we came to this town to give the best to our children. And from my experience with Troop 17, I can say that Troop 17 is one of the best things this town has to offer to our children. And when I met Mr. Finneran for the first time, being an outsider, being the first person, first member of the community, he made me feel welcome. He made me feel included instantaneously. And then, since then, my son, he is in the troop. I have been volunteering, and I think in this day and age when we have very few role models, and to honor somebody like Mr. Finneran is the right thing to do. I would really humbly request the committee to consider it and make it happen. And we're all really benefiting from Troop 17 because of Mr. Finneran. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to make a statement tonight? Would any member of the committee like to make a statement tonight? Okay. I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law. May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Levy?
No.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Eggleston?
Yes.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. And Mr. Levy?
Yes, ordinance number 2493-18. I present for consideration an ordinance to vacate a portion of existing sanitary sewer easement located at 65 Falmouth Street, tax lot 4, block 3605 in the township of Millburn, Essex County, New Jersey. The purpose of this ordinance is, as it is entitled, to vacate a small portion, less than 35 square feet, of a sanitary sewer easement running directly underneath a single-family home at 65 Falmouth Street, tax lot 4, blocks 3605. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open. Would anybody like to make a comment with respect to, or question with respect to this ordinance? Anybody from the public wish to comment or question with respect to this ordinance?
Madam Chairperson, I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading and the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title and passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Eglaw?
Yes.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes. Before you go, I think that we'll take a couple of minute break in case we have any Boy Scouts who would like to, you're welcome to stay, or if you want to take a break and go on to whatever is next on your agenda, you're welcome to.
Do we just want to power through, guys?
Do you want to power through?
Let's go civic lesson number 2.
All right.
Okay. All right, no break for us. Ms.
I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Township of Millburn Ordinance Number 2494-18. Ordinance amending Chapter 7 Traffic of the revised general ordinance of the Township of Millburn. The proposed amendment to the traffic ordinance is intended to authorize the installation of an all-way stop sign at the intersection of Rector Street, Spring Street, as well as Church Street and Spring Street. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open. Does anyone from the committee want to make any comments or have any questions with respect to this ordinance?
Just want to point out, this came from the Washington and South Mountain group, ad hoc group, and this is something that the people in the Washington section thought would be very beneficial and helpful with the opening of Washington School. A lot of traffic down there, a lot of cars coming and going, and I think this is an important safety measure.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public who would like to make a comment or have a question with respect to this ordinance? Hearing none, seeing none?
I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a vote, please?
Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Eglaw?
Yes.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes. We're going to introduce an ordinance. This is the first reading. I would like to present an ordinance entitled Ordinance Number 2496-18, Ordinance Revising and Supplementing the Salaries and Salary Ranges of Offices and Positions in the Classified and Unclassified Civil Services of the Township of Millburn, County of Essex, for the years 2017, 2018, and 2019. The purpose of this ordinance is to amend the salaries and salary ranges of offices and positions in the classified and unclassified civil services of the Township of Millburn for the years 2017 through 2019. This arises from negotiations with certain of our unions. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law in the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, March 20th, 2018. May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Eglaw?
Yes.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes. Ms. Lieberberg?
I'd like to present an ordinance entitled Township of Millburn, ordinance number 2497-18, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limit and to establish a cap bank. Essentially what this is it's a budget tool that allows us to manage the operations of the township and allow some flexibility as how we funds may be allocated in the overall budget. We're not asking for any more money and we're not adding anything to the budget. This basically acts as an insurance policy and it allows us to allocate funds without having to make any arbitrary or rash budget cuts. Some of those things that would be covered under this cap would be additional costs for pension or health benefits, or perhaps a mandatory service that is mandated by the state, such as fire hydrant safety, something of that nature. I move that the ordinance be taken up and passed on the first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with the law in the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, March 20th.
May I have a second?
Second.
Have a roll call vote?
Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Ms. Lieberman?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. We have 2 items of new business that are listed. Both are proposed ordinances that will be coming up later in the year. Mr. McDonald, do you want to discuss the loading zones?
Yeah, the proposed ordinance for loading zone would be to establish the one loading zone that has been created behind Dunkin' Donuts in Lot 5, which would sort of disallow individuals parking in that unless they are actively loading and unloading a vehicle, such as a truck. We had created a cutout of the sidewalk there to accommodate that function, and so this would make that an enforceable thing.
Okay. The other proposed ordinance has to do with parking in the Washington section. And this also arose out of the South Mountain, Washington ad hoc. And so there are going to be time limits for parking on certain of the streets in the Washington section. On Blaine Street, for the entire length, both easterly direction and westerly direction, there's going to be a 2-hour time limit between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. On Church Street, in both directions, the entire length, it's going to, oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. On Blaine Street, it's going to change from the easterly to the westerly, the entire length, that there's going to be 2-hour time limits. On Church Street, the time limit is going to be on the southerly facing, on the southerly side of Church Street for 2 hours instead of both sides. On Rector Street, it's going to now be both sides for a 2-hour time limit. Oh, am I reading this wrong?
Yeah.
I'm reading this totally wrong.
Well, it's not all that clear, Mayor. That's, basically, there are going to be numerous changes to all of the streets in the Washington section. In particular, as a result of, sort of the school being there at this point and the narrow streets down there, trying to make it a more uniform and way of parking, whether it's one side of the street on certain streets, or not allowing any parking on certain streets because they are just too narrow or they're too busy. So there are several changes, and again, they are articulated here, and certainly we can share a copy of this with the, but they're articulated here. We can certainly share a copy with the rest of the committee so you can review that and see what those proposed changes are. But yeah, there's just a lot of streets. That's the problem too.
Yeah, I think we'll revise it so it's a little more clear. All right. So much for that. Does any member of the committee have an item of old business to address?
May we talk about the success and how many responses we've gotten to the flex parking survey?
Sure, I can speak to that. We have had quite a few responses. I think the last time I checked, it was over 800 responses to the flex parking survey. We did distribute that in a variety of ways. We got it out through the Chamber of Commerce, the DMDA, all of our social media and our website, as well as asking the schools to place a link in the digital backpack, and so we've gotten out in a lot of ways. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, we are at that time where the public is invited to come up and speak. When you do come up, please clearly state your name and address. Speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. If you read from a prepared statement, please give a copy or email a copy to Christine Gaddy, our township clerk, at cgatti, C-G-A-T-T-I, at millburntwp.org to help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all speakers to be heard. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you can't limit your comments to 3 minutes, you can limit your comments to 3 minutes, and if you need to come back to add to your 3 minutes, you may do so after everyone else has had a chance to speak. Does any member of the public have any comments that he or she would like to make? Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening. Josh Sharp, 11 Hawthorne Road, Short Hills. I recently read about how the committee is hatching a new chicken ordinance. And, you know, I thought it was a joke. Anyway, but in all candor, it's just a terrible idea. And I have experience with chickens, having property in Brooklyn, and it's just a disaster. And some of the questions that I'm going to ask, hopefully you can answer, is number one, how many people are involved? Is it 10 people, 20 people, 200 people? How many people are going to be running afoul of this ordinance? And if it is just a minority, are you walking on eggshells to just accommodate that minority? Secondly, if you take a look at the township plan, chickens are a farm animal. They're there to produce eggs, meat. And there is no designation there for any kind of farming area in the town master plan. Also, number three, what are we trying to do over here? What is the committee doing? Are you trying to attract more chicken farmers to Millburn? In effect, making it a chick magnet? Are we looking at real estate listings? They're going to say, updated colonial in Glenwood, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, chicken coop, 1.3 million. I don't know what is the vision of it here. Is that what you're trying to do? I can tell you that my experience, having property in Brooklyn, tenants did bring in chickens, and the chickens were housed on a roof. They built a chicken coop, which was insulated and electrified, which caught fire. Eventually, the chickens were let out into the street because nobody could deal with them. The other thing is, you don't know if you're getting a hen or a rooster when they're small chicks. So there's a disaster. Fortunately, in the area where I have buildings, those chickens did not go to waste. When they went down to the street, they ended up in somebody's pot. But I think that it's significant to know that the CDC has shown that there has been significant outbreaks of salmonella. It's just opening up a can of worms. There we go. Is it enough? That you should avoid. We vote down no chickens. Next is going to be pigs, goats, llamas.
Thank you.
Not worth doing.
I just want to respond for 1 second, just so that you understand. Right now, we don't have any restrictions on chickens. So the purpose of this ordinance is to allow us to actually put some restrictions into place. So it's not exactly to allow chickens.
I understand. But you have ordinance in place, like Section 5, that free-range chickens, if they want to cross the road, one could pick them up. You don't allow free-roaming animals. There are building restrictions. There is, if somebody's building a nasty chicken coop in their backyard, cardboard, there is maintenance issues over there. We have ordinance in place. We have a building department that would define that if somebody builds a chicken coop and decides to insulate it, it has to be filed. If they electrify it, it has to be filed. If it's not filed, you remove it. I think that it's just, so again, it's opening up a can of worms, it's just creating a problem. Say no to chickens, you'll say no to pigs, and no to llamas, and no to goats. Thank you.
Good evening, Richard Washman, 24 Inverness Court. My comments tonight are about the survey. I was a little disappointed in the distribution strategy. It seems like when you guys published the survey, there really wasn't a strategy to get it out. I was a little annoyed that, or maybe my question to you is why you didn't use the 9/11 SWIFT system to at least get the word out that you're doing a survey. I mean, 800 respondents, over this time seems like a very low number. So I don't know why it wasn't done. It just seems like it was done very haphazard, and it's a very important issue that we're facing. So that was one of my questions. I mean, is there any hope of getting more respondents to come forward using maybe by using the 9/11 system?
Yeah, I think some of the concern in using the reverse 911 system for things of this nature is that we want to make sure that we're focused in on sort of emergent situations where we're using that system. Although we did find a sort of a tab in which people sign up for events. So we think that might be able to be used to push out a reminder to have people sign up for the, because they're expecting alerts such as that. I don't know that in terms of doing a town-wide sort of alert on this, I don't want to devalue the use of that reverse 911 system. But there is an event, and I think that reaches close to 4,400 people. So obviously we're in the midst of dealing with communication in another area in terms of snowstorms and power outages and things like that. But I think once that, we can certainly get out a reminder about the survey.
Right, because and then my other question in terms of the survey is, I mean, let's say you get 1,000 surveys returned, or I don't know, or a relatively low number. What is the plan in terms of going forward? I mean, you're going to analyze the survey, and then what's going to happen?
It's a tool for the township committee.
So for the moment, we're just on hold in terms of flex parking.
Right.
So okay, and nothing else is going to be done for now.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, like, for instance, originally you were going to appoint a committee to start thinking about different ways to handle some of the problems with flex parking.
No.
Okay. All right. Then thank you so much.
Thank you.
May I ask Alex a question? So I think I did discuss with Alex, saying that the Swift 911 is for emergencies, but there are many towns who have a Swift 911, but it's not for emergencies. A way to get information out to every single resident. Like right now, we are in a crisis, there's a big storm coming. But there should be a way that if we have all these emails that it can be labeled non-emergency town-wide communication. I think someone said maybe Warren has that, or certain towns. So is there something we can utilize? All these people who have signed up for Swift 911, but specifically let them know this is not an emergency communication. We have an important tool going out that we would like to get the most amount of response we can from our 20,000 residents.
Well, and that's why I brought up the events tab, because basically we switched to Swift 911 for a few reasons, and one of that was so that people could sign up for those types of alerts that they want to receive. So and sort of the all call, which is numbers that we pick up off of pulling landlines and things like that. I think that is a different tool than somebody saying, you know what, I want to hear about everything that Millburn has to say, whether it's emergency, non-emergency, or whatever. They're signing up for non-emergency alerts. They want to know when, the Oktoberfest is happening in Teller Park. They want to know when things. So I think that, again, we have probably, I think it's 6,000 all call, and you're talking about 4,000 on this events tab. I think that captures quite a large, especially in a municipality that has around 6,200 households. So it captures quite a good portion of that.
I guess I'm asking if a lot of people said that when the Complete Streets construction happened, they really weren't aware, and I even admit that I wasn't aware of the extent of what this construction was going to do to town. And if we had a system like this, where we could have utilized 3 years ago, maybe we would have gotten a lot more input from people before this, I won't use the word disaster, but maybe I will, took place in town. And what we're left with, the result, is so problematic in so many ways. It's parking, it's traffic, it's cutting through South Mountain section, through Washington section, traffic down Orchard Hills Road. I think if we could maybe make an exception in this one time, and after the storm next week, and the survey is open until March 12th,
Which is,
so possibly,
next week.
so maybe we could make an exception this one time and label the Swift 911 a non-emergency, very important communication to the 6,000 people who are signed up. I think there's a lot of people. I met with somebody today who said, how come I don't know about this?
I tell everybody I speak to, and I disagree. I don't think we should use our emergency, but I think Alex has told us now about the non-emergency use of it, and that's what we should be doing, but not the emergency use. I don't think you using an emergency item for that. It's not an emergency.
Some people might disagree, Mayor.
I understand that, but it's not an emergency.
Alex, how many are on the non-emergency? 4,500, is that?
Correct.
Okay.
4,400, right?
Yeah.
Roughly 4,400.
And when would they receive that communication?
Well, I think the idea would be to get through tomorrow. Hopefully we can, and then I think Thursday, if things are calm and we don't have another round of what we had, I think we can get it out as quickly as Thursday.
And maybe do one last blast before it closes out on 12th.
Okay. Remember too that we also have on the website, and certainly encourage all residents to sign up for Notify Me, which every time that we put up a news feed or anything that needs to be, it pushes out an email to those individuals to sign up for it, so that you know that hey, there's something on the website I want to go look at. I'm interested in that, and it'll and that'll prompt you to go there, because I know that people don't necessarily always check the website, but that's a way for people to know when we're doing stuff, whether it's posting an agenda, posting this information. It's a good tool as well.
And I think another good tool that I know Jackie and I have spoken about, speaking about it for a couple of years, is having a signboard outside of Town Hall. I'm still going to push for that and hope that that will happen one day.
I think that'd be an excellent idea. Signboard.
Anybody else would like to make any comments?
Hi, Marilee Reesbeck, 91 Whittingham Terrace. I was going to raise some of the same points that Richard Wasserman raised about the survey. I do have some concerns about the distribution. And Alex, you just talked about some kind of a feature on the town website that you can sign up, that people can get an alert that there's an update to the... I didn't know about that. How many people are signed up for that feature?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can certainly get that number off the analytics of the website. But there's quite a few. Yeah, and there's actually a banner on top of the website that says "Sign up for Notify Me." There's a smart button on the side of the website that also is Notify Me. And we've announced it before, but yeah, I mean, we can continue to make people aware of that.
I think so, and I think that if you put something on the township website, you're expecting people to pull the information rather than you're pushing it out. And if they don't know to sign up for that feature, I didn't know to sign up for that feature, then you're not reaching a widespread audience. And if we've only gotten 800 responses and there are 20,000 people in town, I think that's an underrepresentation of the people in town that should be apprised of this. And sending home a notice in a backpack, kid's backpack, is not going to reach, widespread audience. So if hoping, again, that you'll follow through after the storm, I'm also requesting that you extend the deadline for this survey, because we do have we've all been discussing, I have requested several members of the committee to send it out either through, the SWIFT 911 or some mechanism that reaches a wider audience, and we don't have to rely on people going out to the township website and finding this, or word of mouth, which is, has a limited range. So I also have concerns about who's going to analyze the data. Will you form a committee to analyze the data, or Mayor, will you be looking at the data and making decisions about what's in there? How is that? How are you going to?
The committee will deal with it. We're not going to form a committee.
Okay. And what criteria will you assess that by? Like, what is your criteria for making decisions?
The committee will make a decision based on the information that comes out of it. We're going to have the administration will provide us the information, and at a certain point in time, we'll sit down and include that basically as part of the information that's important to us as we're deciding what to do with the flexible parking, if anything.
So nobody would be involved that has any expertise on analyzing data and results of a survey like this?
Can't tell you that.
All right, well, thank you for your time. I have to say that I think this is a highly unprofessional way to gather data and make decisions about such an important topic.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Cosgrove?
Thank you. Good evening, I'm Dave Cosgrove, 99 Oakview. I have a statement that I would rather just give to you, is that all right? Might
Is
make
that
things a
the
little
same
clearer?
statement you've
It
made
is
before?
not. No, this is completely different.
All right.
Okay? I have copies for
Ms. Allen?
everyone. Yes, for all of you, actually, if you didn't ask for it. And since I have given you another statement earlier, I'll try to keep this one brief. Before you decide what to do with this Silverman property, the Woodland Road development, I think it's very important, and I'd suggest maybe you're missing an element, which is thinking long and hard what that project is going to look like if you folks have to design it yourselves. So if you're going to vote to make this an area of need, I think you need to know first what it's going to look like before you vote for that. You know the citizens don't want this, the size they're talking about. I wanted to point out on the back, there's a color photograph. The point of view on that color photograph, the top balloon is 40 feet tall on a piece of string. The second balloon's 30 feet. When I stand at the end of my road and I look at this development, that's what I see. So if you folks are inclined to make this a 30-story monstrosity, I'll say, that's what I'm looking at. And that's why it's very important that this thing be 2 stories or less.
Did you say 30 stories?
No, I said 30 feet. The
You
first,
said 30 stories.
I correct myself,
Okay.
my apologies. The first balloon is 30 feet off the ground, second one's 40. And the proposition currently is for a 4-story building all the way down every square inch of that lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you.